onto neuroscience because you're currently studying this. So neuroscience and how the brain works.
Yeah.
I've always been fascinated about neuroscience because we often don't realize how our brain is actually working, and we get on with our day and we think, okay, that we don't think too much about it.
Yeah.
Could you share your 3 biggest learnings you've learned so far that that really shifted the way you think?
Yeah, so I'm studying a master in applied neuroscience with King's College London. I do have to say, I've never done anything science. It was just a purely my own interest. It has been a very eye-opening experience for someone like me, being a lawyer who knew very little in the past from an academic background. I did training before, so my initial understanding, what really motivated me to do this was that when I do meditation, even after yoga, right, there's the element of how does the brain work? How does it really help us? And that's where the neuroscience comes in, especially in the past 20 years, not only just for the study of the disease, but also for the study of well-being, how we can master that. And the key principle to remember in neuroscience is neuroplasticity, right? What it says is that our brain, very different from what we used to think, our brain by the age of 20 or after puberty is fixed. It's not fixed. Every time when we are talking, when we are thinking, when we are learning, from a brain function perspective, the nerve cells, the brain cells, they are firing, they are making new neural connections. So from a neuronal perspective, that's how they communicate. So imagine, if you read a book, your brain from the start of that page until you finish that book is different. It's been changed because when you learn new information, the brain make new connections, and they strengthen that connection as you read, you repeat. So I always use this example for my lawyer friends. I said, believe it or not, if you are a construction lawyer, you are a employment law lawyer, there's a part of the brain, there's a neural networks, very thick ones, right? They've been firing to reflect that level of knowledge, your level of thinking. So in a way, our mind, when I say mind, is our intangible perceptions, beliefs, thoughts, knowledge, all that mind stuff, the things we can't see, but represent our personality, is reflected in the physiological structure of the brain in the sense of the neuron pathway, neural network. So these work in tandem. And where we put our attention, right? Say we focus on certain things, the neuron follows. They will follow fire and wire. And so the first thing I think I got really excited, but also surprising, shocked to learn when I was doing a training a couple of years ago by Dr. Rick Hansen. He's a neuropsychologist, but he's also a long-term practicing Buddhist. He said one thing really shook me that day at the training. He said, as a Buddhist practitioner, I know, we have an older saying, and day by day, the mind builds the mind. The mind takes the shape of whatever the mind focuses upon. Okay? Then he said, but I'm a neuropsychologist. With my understanding of neuroscience, I think the more truthful, accurate statement is, day by day, the mind builds the brain. Day by day, the brain takes the shape of whatever the mind focuses upon. So if we always focus on negative news, anxiety, the things cause us stress, the brain follows, because whenever you put your attention, the neurons in the brain, that's just this very simple principle, from neuroscience perspective. So in that regard, I was like, oh my God, I need to really be mindful what I put my attention. Not easy. So that's the first thing, okay? I need to be very mindful because your brain, your neurons firing and following where we put our attention. So that gives a reason why we need to be very mindful of how we place our attention. The second thing is the brain is changeable. So don't think we are doomed, like, oh my God, if we're thinking about negative things. The second thing is very important, is that this is a secret weapon. This is the superpower, real superpower. The brain is changeable. Every day if I decided to have a new level of thinking, especially when it comes very deep stuff like self-perception. And I always use that example, I had a very deep-seated kind of unresolved for many years self-acceptance. And I couldn't wait. Like I can do therapy, I can go and see psychologists, but until such time you are willing to change, right? You have to tell yourself, I believe I can change. The brain can change. So day by day, follow that first principle. I need to see the positive in myself. Then you build that networks. Don't get me wrong. Maybe for 30 years it was more negative self-belief. It's built very strongly. But just like going for a bushwalk, if you've been walking that way for a very long time, until such time we make a different pathway, we will always follow that way. So we need to tell ourselves, yeah, it can be done. It might take a while, but if I continue turn the right rather than the left, I can walk a path down that as well. So that's the second thing. Brain is always changeable. It has the ability to be unwired and rewired. The third one is perception. What I have learned, particularly for this course, I was so surprised. This is something I teach through Peace Lab as well. How we can't change the external events, but it's really how we interpret, how we perceive them. In neuroscience, the more you learn about neuroscience and neuroplasticity, you realize our perception is very subjective. And the world, how we perceive, is actually, to a large part, is very subjective and closely arising out of our perception. And even in cognitive behavioral therapy, what I have learned is they would tell their clients, between the events and emotion, in between that, the key block is how you perceive. Same events happen to 100 people, they will have different perception because that interpretation is different. So I have to always check in with myself, which perspective am I perceiving this? Can I change a different angle? Yeah, so that's the three key things I constantly mulling over in my own life as well. Yeah.